The plane was silent. No hum of the engines, no chatter, no seatbelt clicks. All eyes were fixed on one thing. A teenager sitting in 14C, gripping the shattered remains of his glasses like they were the last thing keeping him from disappearing. A flight attendant stood frozen. Her fingers trembled as if she just realized what she'd done. But the damage wasn't just a pair of lenses. It was to someone who didn't have the words to fight back. But she wasn't the only one watching. From seat 1A, a man in a dark suit leaned forward, and the entire flight's fate shifted in a single breath. This isn't just a story about a broken pair of glasses. It's about how one small act of cruelty in the sky became a storm the world would never forget. Ethan was 16 years old. Not the loud kind of teen. The quiet, brilliant kind who memorized plane models and could name every major airport code by heart. But boarding a plane wasn't easy for him. He was on the spectrum. Sudden noises, bright lights, strangers brushing against his arms. They all tangled up in his head like static. He clutched his backpack close. Inside it a worn sketchbook, a few snacks, and his prescription glasses. Glasses that weren't just for sight. They were his compass in a blurry, loud world. His mom, Carla, gently guided him down the jet bridge of a crowded flight to Los Angeles International Airport. Their row was 14C and 14D. They'd saved for months to make this trip. Their first vacation since losing Ethan's dad to illness. The flight attendant assigned to their section, Rachel, had already been thrown off balance that morning. A maintenance delay, a supervisor reprimand, and a passenger earlier who yelled at her for a wrong seat assignment. Her jaw was tight, her patience thinner than the recycled air around her. When Ethan hesitated in the aisle, overwhelmed by the crowd behind him, she barked, "Sir, can we keep moving? You're blocking everyone." Passengers murmured, some impatient, some sympathetic. Carla whispered, "Sweetheart, it's okay. Just one step at a time." Rachel sighed, audibly. But someone else was watching quietly from 1A. Ethan finally settled into his seat, adjusting his glasses carefully. He always checked them twice. Left hinge, right hinge, lenses clean. Rachel passed again with the drink cart. When she asked what he wanted, Ethan didn't respond immediately. Not because he was ignoring her. He just processed language slower when anxious. She tapped the cart. "Hello." Carla answered softly. "He just needs a second." Rachel rolled her eyes, not quietly. A woman in 15B frowned. A man in 17C shifted uncomfortably. The man in 1A, still reading his newspaper, turned the page but never lifted his eyes from what was happening. Later, during the safety demo, Ethan covered his ears as the PA system blared. Rachel smirked under her breath. "First flight?" To a colleague, loud enough for Carla to hear. The mother clenched her hands. She knew this kind of treatment. She'd seen it before. And somewhere deep in the cabin, a pressure started to build. Not turbulence. Tension. Midway through the flight, Rachel asked passengers to secure their bags for descent. Ethan's bag was wedged under the seat, packed tightly, like Carla had told him to. He struggled to pull it out, fumbling, and his glasses slipped down his face. Rachel, in a rush to get to the back galley, stomped forward. The sound sliced through the cabin. A sound no one mistook for anything else. Ethan froze. His hands hovered above the floor where his glasses lay twisted, one lens spiderwebbed. The other frame snapped in two. Carla gasped, "Oh my God, no." Ethan's breath quickened. He blinked rapidly, the world around him already melting into a blur. Rachel stepped back, flustered. "Well, maybe you shouldn't have dropped them," she muttered. A few passengers stiffened in their seats. 15B whispered to 15A. A man in 17C raised his phone, subtly recording. Carla's voice trembled. "He can't see without them." Rachel crossed her arms. "Ma'am, accidents happen." But it wasn't the words. It was the way she said them, like his pain was an inconvenience. The man in 1A lowered his newspaper. This time, he didn't look away. Ethan began to shake. The noise, the blur, the whispers. It was too much. Carla crouched next to him, holding his hands, whispering, "It's okay, I've got you." Passengers nearby shifted in their seats. A flight attendant from the back whispered something to Rachel. She shrugged, tried to downplay it, but then a voice spoke over the low hum of the cabin. "Excuse me." The man in 1A stood up. He walked down the aisle slowly, confidently. No anger, just a kind of controlled gravity that made the entire plane quiet down. Rachel straightened her posture. "Sir, you need to stay seated during." He lifted a small black leather wallet. A badge glinted under the cabin light. Whispers rippled like wine through tall grass. Rachel's blood ran cold. The badge wasn't fake. The nameplate read, "Mark Collins, Federal Aviation Administration." Passengers exchanged looks. Someone whispered, "Eve?" Mark knelt next to Ethan. His voice was gentle, measured. "Hey, buddy, you okay?" Ethan nodded faintly, clutching the broken glasses in both hands. Mark stood, facing Rachel. "I've been watching this unfold since the moment we boarded." Rachel stammered. I didn't mean to." Mark cut her off, but not unkindly. "What matters is intent. It's impact. And right now, the impact is very real." He turned to the passengers. "Did anyone else see what happened?" Hands went up, slowly, then more, and more. Phones were rolling now. This was no longer a private incident. It was a story. Ethan sat silently, knees pulled up, breathing shaky. Then 15B stood up. Then 17C. Then 12A. Not yelling, just standing. One by one, an entire cabin of strangers united. Rachel's composure cracked. "Please, I didn't." Mark's voice was calm, but unshakable. "Ma'am, what happens next isn't about your career. It's about accountability." The captain was informed. The airline supervisor was notified midair. Mark documented the entire event with timestamps and passenger statements. Rachel's uniform suddenly didn't protect her anymore. Carla held Ethan close. For the first time in hours, his breathing steadied, not because the world got quiet, but because people finally stood up for him. When the plane landed, officials were already waiting at the gate. Ethan was escorted off first. Mark personally arranged for medical assistance, an emergency lens replacement, and priority support for Carla and her son. Rachel was placed on administrative leave pending investigation. Within 24 hours, the footage of that flight hit YouTube and TikTok. Millions watched. Headlines read, "Teen's glasses broken mid-flight. What seat 1A did next shocked everyone." But the story wasn't about punishment. It was about how, for once, bystanders didn't stay silent. Mark later told reporters, "One pair of glasses shouldn't decide whether someone is seen or invisible." Carla called him a hero. Ethan just called him the man who stood. Sometimes, injustice doesn't arrive with a bang. It arrives quietly in the aisle of the plane. One person can ignore it, but an entire plane can change everything. This is Voices Unbroken. Real stories, real courage, one voice at a time.